Yeah, so saying that there's so many things you can do in tech that you don't have to code. There's so many career paths. There's I'm not going to start mentioning them now, but then so many parts of tech, so many non-tech careers in tech that we can always explore. So we wouldn't restrict ourselves and just sit and just think that, okay, because this is not happening, I'm not going to do this. Also, if, for example, you're in different areas of medical career and then you want to explore options to be able to move into, like, for example, nursing, which is like the focal point of our discussion this evening, there's an opportunity for you. And so yeah, this is just a conversation on how we as individuals can grow, we can expand, especially moving into new terrains. From what we used to do in Nigeria, some people are like, oh, how can I transition the skill set I have from Nigeria and, bringing them here abroad? You'll be surprised that in Nigeria, you do so many things. I was talking to a friend and I was like, in Nigeria, we tend to do for the Yorubas on the for non-Yorubas on the call, is like doing so many things all together. You will find that in your job as a customer service, you're probably doing product management, you're doing project management. So you need to be able to translate those roles into a more niche area, like you can build a career path here abroad. So with that, I'm going to invite our first speaker, who is on the call right now. Her name, I'm just going to do a quick introduction of her. One split second. So our first speaker today is Dorcas Ogunbunmi, and Dorcas is a clinical practice educator in nursing education role with the University Hospitals in Sussex NHS Trust Fund. Sorry, UK's pronunciations with the Sussex NHS Foundation Trust. She studied Bachelor's of Nursing Science at Obafemi Awolowo University and has been living in the UK since March 2021. She has worked as a nurse for 9 years and has experience from different fields of nursing. Most recently, a urology nurse, and before taking up a nurse educator role. She's currently working on an MSc in medical and healthcare education. And currently, she's a team lead in her hospital for nursing apprenticeships and supports people who are transitioning from care assistant roles into becoming qualified nurses. So I'm going to hand over now to Dorcas. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Febishola. Good evening, everyone, again. Please, can everyone hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I would attempt to share my screen. I hope can everyone see my screen, please?
I can. If anyone else wants to confirm, please drop a chat.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Once again, my name is Dorcas, as Febishola has rightly said. I'm a clinical practice educator. It's just a role that has to do with nursing education. Getting into the role also, I did a bit of switching and transitioning, as Febishola did mention a little bit. So this evening, I will be talking a little about switching careers into nursing. There might be many of us who've been wondering, it seems like nursing is quite lucrative here, or it seems like, there are so many opportunities here for nurses to easily get jobs. So what am I going to do? How do I get in and all of that? I would attempt to answer some questions as well. So if you just have some questions, if you can just maybe put them in the chats or write them down. So if I do not answer it during the course of the study, then we can take it at the end. Yes, so we'll be looking at why change into nursing, who can switch, what are the prospects in nursing, what are the fields of nursing you can consider, entry pathways to get into nursing, the requirements, the conclusions, and then we'll take some questions. So why a change of career into nursing? There are various reasons why people decide to change careers or to switch into nursing. I'm just going to mention a few of them. One is people might have quest for a career path that is more enjoyable or more challenging, or give you more career satisfaction. You may have always wanted to study nursing from Nigeria, but we know how it is in Nigeria. Getting admission for some courses can be really, really daunting, and you had to do maybe something else, and getting into a new environment, you decide, oh, I think I would want a change. Some people might also want a career that offers flexible working patterns, so you can work more easily to fit into your lifestyle. I have colleagues that work permanent night shifts. I have colleagues that work permanent day shifts because of childcare needs and other things. I have colleagues that work probably 3 days a week, 2 days during the weekend, 1 day during the week. So it offers a lot of flexibilities. And also, maybe your values or goals may change over time. Maybe earlier you decided this is what I want, and then now you have decided, to go into something else. Also, if you are in a career presently where it's lacking advancement opportunities, for example, we know that there are some roles we did in Nigeria that here, there are really not so much job opportunities available in that field. That may be another reason to consider a change into nursing. But we all know that making a career change can be really, really daunting. After investing so much time and education into one part, changing into something else, it's really a big step. But it's not something that is impossible. Let's go on. So who can switch into nursing? The truth is anybody can switch into nursing, irrespective of age, irrespective of previous career paths. I have had some of my students presently in the hospital who'd been dancers before, who had been hairdressers before. So anyone from any career, it doesn't actually have to be a science-related career. What you actually need is actually an interest in studying nursing. Okay. Let's go on. So what are the prospects? What do you stand to? What are the benefits? What are some of the gains you can get if you have a career change into nursing? Job opportunities are growing. We know that one thing is, in almost all countries, developing, nursing is always on the shortage occupation list. I came into the UK because there was a shortage occupation list for nurses, and I applied and I got a job. In the UK, there are so many career opportunities. I've already changed my jobs in less than 2 years of getting into the UK from one role to my present role. So there are so many job opportunities, and statistics show that it would only increase across Europe, across America, everywhere. There are growing opportunities, and there are new fields being developed every day. Also, there are ample opportunities for development. You can decide today to leave maybe a band 5 role. I'm talking in a UK context now, because there is a way that nurses are put in roles or levels, like we know it in Nigeria, grade 1, grade 2, grade 2, and like that. So registered nurses always start from band 5, and there is always a very quick advancement. In less than 3 years, I've had colleagues who have moved from band 5, which is a staff nurse role, to being a band 7. That's a managerial role, a ward manager. So there are so many opportunities for advancement, and somehow our training from Nigeria gives us, like Fabiola mentioned something earlier about being jack of all trades. It gives us so many skills that comes in so useful and are so beneficial for career advancement. Okay. Flexible working patterns, we've talked about this already. Job securities, because you would almost never be out of jobs. There are almost always jobs for you. Competitive salaries across Europe, UK. I know more of UK because that's where I'm based, but I have made a little research and I discovered that across Europe, nurses tend to earn above average. Okay, although it differs, it varies, depends. If you're in the private sector, which tends to pay a bit more than the public or government sector, the NHS. Okay, so but nurses also always tends to earn above average, and we know that one of the reasons of our coming here is, to get a good quality of life, good pay. And many people would want to be in that place that offers that kind of security and good pay. So nursing offers that much. Then you get to make impact in the life of others. You get one of the things I enjoyed so much when I was working on the wards is that at the end of the day, you see patients coming to tell you that you made a difference. You having that 5-minute conversation with me, just spending time with me, asking me about my family, about my pets. It made a whole lot of difference in my life. So you have opportunity, you have that opportunity to make an impact in the lives of others on a daily basis. Also, you also get a chance to apply skills that you have, communication, empathy, desire to be there for patients, there is ample opportunities for you to put this into practice. These are just to mention a few of so many prospects that are available in nursing. Yes, so let's talk a bit about the fields of nursing. You might have heard people say they are adult nurses or mental health nurses, so nursing is basically divided into 4 broad fields. We have adult nursing, which covers everything about adults, from kidney care to ITU to midwifery to gynecology. Everything that has to do with an adult comes under adult nursing. All the specialties, like myself, I am an adult nurse. Okay, then we have the children, so you can call them the pediatric nurses. This deals with everything the adult nurses does, but for people from age 0 up until 16 or 18, depends on the country where adults are classified as. We have the learning disabilities nurses, nursing field. This deals with attending to patients with various kinds of learning disabilities. We know that this is a big deal in countries we are in, developing countries and developed countries. Then we have mental health nursing, which is also a bit different, goes a bit with the learning disabilities, but it's also totally different from learning disability nursing. So these are various fields you can get into. The easiest, of course, to get into is adult nursing. And usually most training bodies always advise that you start with the adult nursing. That if you want to go into any specialty, you can then, use that as a base, a foundation for going into other fields of nursing. Now, let's talk a bit about the entry pathways. We know in Nigeria, where we come from, studying nursing is basically so that you get admission to the university and study nursing for 5 years, and then that's it. Or you go through the School of Nursing route, you go to a School of Nursing for 3 years, and then you can decide to maybe go on to the university to top up your nursing license or your nursing qualification to get a degree. But here it's a bit the same for many countries. Like most of other African countries follow the same pattern. You get admission to the university, but the difference is some other countries, it's over 4 years rather than 5 years. You get admission to study over 4 years maybe, and and finish the course, and then you become a qualified nurse. But it's a little bit different in some developed countries. I would use UK as a case study. Studying nursing also in many other Middle East countries and many other European countries follow the same pathway. It's usually 3 to 5 years. You get admission directly into the university to study full-time or sometimes part-time, but not always available, usually full-time, over 3 to 5 years. But in the UK, there are actually 2 major pathways. The first is what I've talked about, direct entry admission into university, into any university offering the course accredited by the Nursing and Midwifery Council of the country. Okay, and then can be done full-time usually, but it can, some institutions have part-time options and some have full-time options as well. Some have a blended learning option where you study online and you have to come into the university. But nursing is never a 100% online course, so there has to be physical presence. So you might need to consider that if you want to go into the university to study nursing fully. It is never done online because it's very practical, it's very hands-on. There are so many things that has to be done clinically. There are so many things that has to be done with you being there. So it's not usually done online. Some top-up courses, like you want to do a master's, can be done online, but basically studying nursing is never done fully online. It can be blended, a mixture of online and classroom experience, but it's never fully online. Okay, so the program range from 3 to 5 years, I mentioned this earlier, depends on the country and if you're doing it full-time or part-time. So this is one major pathway, okay? But there is another pathway which is more in the UK, but I believe as time goes on, it's going to be seen in other countries. This is the part which I team lead in my hospital. It's called the nursing apprenticeships. So this basically means that there are people who want to study nursing, but they cannot go to the university to study it full-time. So what is then done is that they are allowed to keep their jobs, but then also study nursing. So their work time is reduced. Okay, I didn't mention something about the direct entry routes. The first here, in this one, it's usually fully funded by you. You might be lucky to get a scholarship sometime you can get a partly funded scholarship, but you usually bear the brunt or the whole responsibility for payment, and it usually ranges anything between £9,000 to up to £20,000, depends on what university and where you are studying. But the nursing apprenticeship pathway, it's new. It's not so new, but then it's still quite new. Like in the last 4 to 6 years, it enables people to train and also work. So you have to be working in a hospital to go through this route. So what basically happens is you are working, for example, as a healthcare worker, a HCA, a carer in a hospital, and then after working there for at least 6 months, you apply for this course, and then the hospital sponsors you. So you get a day each week to go to the university for your course. Of course, it is longer, okay, but at the end of the day, you are fully sponsored by the hospital. You get to receive your salaries on a monthly basis as well. Your salary is not being reduced because you are studying, okay, even though your hours are reduced. So this is one route that it's really been pushed now by the Nursing and Midwifery Council in the UK, and it really supports, both working and schooling at the same time without affecting your finances so gravely. So, like I mentioned, they don't have to pay themselves, and the cost of the apprenticeship is paid by the employer. If you work in a hospital, you might have heard people talk about the nursing associate and the registered nurse degree, RNDA, registered nurse degree apprenticeship. These are two basic pathways available for the apprenticeship route. I won't bore you so much with details, but it takes between 4 to 5 years to complete, because each of them takes like 2 years, and then you have to have 1 year kind of working in between before you continue on the course. It's fully funded by the government. You can work and school. So basically what this just means is if you want to go through this route, you start usually with the nursing associate route, which lasts for 2 years, 24 months, and it's like a bridge between a HCA and a registered nurse, okay? And then afterwards, you can work, but not fully as a registered nurse. You'll be placed on a band 4 level, and then if you decide to go on the course, you get on the second one, the RNDA route, and it takes another 20 months thereabouts, and then you become a registered nurse. So what are the requirements for studying nursing? Basically, you need maths and English. This is not just for internationals. Even citizens of the country have to show proof of passing maths and English before they can be enrolled on a nursing course. You have to have a transcript to show your previous level of qualification. In the UK, we usually ask for a level 3 because qualifications are usually graded based on level. So a level 3 is more like post-high school level of qualification. And it's usually can be in any health-related field. Evidence of completion. So this is for those who want to go through the apprenticeship routes I mentioned earlier. That came up twice. And then where English is a second language, you also have to show a proof of an IELTS score. Usually everybody who came from Nigeria and has had a form of tertiary education qualifies to study nursing via any of these routes, okay? I've had many people come ask me because they are really worried if their qualification. There was a lady in particular who came to me to ask, Dorcas, I don't know if my qualification meets the standard. And I checked her certificates. She has an MSc. And I was just like, you are more than qualified to get on the course. So many people I have realized have a bit of drawback because they feel, maybe I'm not qualified enough. There are teams in the hospital that can grade your certificate to see, to let you know if it's up to the acceptable standard, but usually it is if you've had a form of tertiary education. So where do I start? I want to study nursing, or I have interest. I've had this information, but what do I do first? Where do I start? What I would advise is first just gain work experience, because studying nursing takes at least 3 years of your life, okay? And before you commit to such a new career path, you actually want to know, do I just like this because I see the picture of nurses and they look very beautiful? Or do I just like this because I hear that the salary is good? You want to actually have a hands-on to see if you actually think you can do this. You can do this in many ways, but having a work experience will help you feel certain that this is what you want to do. You can do this through volunteering, working as a care worker, paying visits to the hospital, but just gain work experience in this field. You can speak to nurses as well, but it would be really good to have a hands-on experience. Of course, not as a nurse, but maybe as a volunteer or as a healthcare worker, and then you see how nurses, what they do, have a chat with them, talk about maybe what they do with them, the particular field that they are practicing in. All this will give you an insight, would let you know, okay, this is actually what I would love to do. This is a field, when I eventually study nursing, this is a field I would actually like to consider, and things like that. So this would really help give you an insight into what you want to do. And as you do this, checking also on Google, browsing on schools or, other places that that offers the course, and when they start, the entry requirements, the financial implications if you want to go full-time, to the universities to do that. That's a really good place to start. So in conclusion, we've talked about the fact that nursing is a well-suited option if you're looking for a career path that provides valuable service for others, not only for others, for yourself, for your family. You can easily, rather than panicking if you have a child who is sick or you have, a partner you can easily understand, okay, this is what's happening, this is what I need to do. So it's, and I will not rule out the fact that it comes with its own challenges and stress sometimes, overwhelming when you maybe become very close to one patient, and then at the end of the day, the patient dies. It can be a bit overwhelming mentally, physically sometimes, but then it's one that provides a good a valuable service to others. Changing career to nursing takes time and commitment because it involves returning to education. So it would be good to consider all the pros and cons before you actually decide to go into this. Thank you very much for your time and questions.
Thank you very much, Dorcas. Thank you very much. That was very good. Thank you. I just have a question. So you mentioned on people volunteering. Just before I ask my question, if anyone has a question, if you want to, please just raise your hand, or you can drop it to the chat if you don't want to raise your hand. So the question I want to ask is, you mentioned that you can go volunteer in the hospital, and I can, if I'm interested in nursing just as you've mentioned, can I just walk into the hospital and say, oh, hi, I would like to volunteer, or there's a time that hospitals usually welcome volunteers to come into the hospital?
That's a very good question. So most hospitals, because it has been discovered that many people use this for fraud, for opportunities to come in to steal and things like that. So there's a regulated pathway there. Each hospital has a website where you will just go on to. For example, I stay in Sussex. I want to look at the hospitals in Sussex close to me where I can easily walk in, maybe spend 2 hours each Wednesday just to volunteer. So just go to the website, check. There is always a path for volunteers. How do I volunteer? How do I be a volunteer? All hospital websites have that. And if you cannot locate that on time, just contact the reception or the admin person, usually on the hospital's website, and they'll be able to give you clear directions on how to go about that.
Okay, awesome. We have a question from Liz. She said, I work as a ward clerk. Does that qualify to go through nursing apprenticeship pathway?
I'm sorry, can you take that again?
I work as a ward clerk.
Yes.
Does that qualify to go through the nursing apprenticeship pathway?
Yes, definitely. Yes, it qualifies you to go through the nursing apprenticeship pathways. What you need to do is to speak with your hospitals. I don't know, each ward sometimes have their own educators, and then there is always, like me, an educator that covers the whole hospital, maybe looking after students like I am. So if you speak with someone, they'll be able to direct you. There should be a team called an apprenticeship team. I also forgot to mention, not all hospitals offer apprenticeship, but most NHS trust offers apprenticeship. So you just need to speak with the apprenticeship team. They would ask you for your qualifications. You can then, when you give them your qualifications, they will rate it and say that, okay, do you have the necessary qualifications to get on the course? Usually it's a yes. And usually what might delay you is a level 3 qualification. But when they look at your qualifications, they might let you know, okay, I think you have everything you need, or I think you just need to do this or that in addition, but they'll be able to direct you right. But definitely, yes, you can get on the course.
Thank you. Please, that makes sense. Does anyone have any other question for Dorcas? So there's no other question right now. Just to support what Dorcas has said, this is just a one-liner. I know she mentioned about going back to school for 3 years or 5 years for some, and then having to study. And it's some people can say, oh, they like nursing or they are interested in nursing. But this that you've heard now, you might think, oh, 3 years back in school, and I'm currently 35. I can't go back to school to go and do that again. By the time I finish, I'm going to be 38. Oh, hey, whether you don't do that in the next 3 years, you're going to be 38. So, and you don't want to look back and regret. So if nursing is your passion, or if where you are currently, you believe you can grow beyond it, by all means, please go for it. Okay, we have 2 questions.
Okay.
One from Udemy. How much does it cost to go through the apprenticeship path?
It's free.
That's very
You
short.
don't have to pay anything. And the good thing about going to the apprenticeship pathway is that aside from being free, you are also in a job where you are paid your full salary. So you are paid your full salary, your hours of work. For example, if you work 37.5 hours, it will be reduced. You get maybe 7.5 hours less, or sometimes it's up to, your hours are reduced to 28 hours sometimes. So it is reduced. And that's time taken off is used for schooling. I don't know if you understand. So it's just a way of, it's like you are working and then you are schooling. The only thing you need to do extra is, go to classes, submit your assignments. Everything is fully funded.
So, thank you, Dorcas. Then it looks like you have to do like a lot more search and maybe connect with more nurses. So we have a question from Lade. She said, do they recruit directly from Nigeria? If yes, how is this done? Can you explain it in 1 minute?
No, this is not, they don't recruit directly from Nigeria. For you to get on the apprenticeship route, you actually have to be working for at least 6 months, either as a clerk, as a care assistant, any role in the hospital for at least 6 months before you can get on it. So no, there are no direct recruitments from Nigeria.
But nothing recruits directly from Nigeria, right?
Yes, nurses. I came directly from Nigeria, but for recently, WHO has placed nursing on the red occupation list, which means that Nigeria doesn't have enough nurses, in quotes. So other developed countries should not go there to poach nurses. So there is no active recruitment, but there is still recruitment. It takes longer, but then there's still recruitments.
Thank you very much. I think we covered all the questions, and that was really like right on time. Thank you so much, Dorcas.
Thank you so much. I'm still going to be in the background in case anyone has any questions for later.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so on to our second speaker. That was like very much covered on everything related to nursing by Dorcas. So if you have any question, you can still save your question. You can chat her privately on Zoom. So there's that. Now we're moving on to the second speaker, who is Nonso. Nonso is a medical engineer by training or by education, and he has been able to successfully transition into a career in front-end web development with a couple of experience in non-tech roles. He currently lives in the Netherlands, and in his free time, he enjoys going for Nigeria events. He's a member of the chess club, and currently learning Dutch. So, goedemiddag. Nonso, hi, welcome to Take Over.
Hi, Fabishala.
Hi.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Vel. Nice to be here. Yeah, I think it's a bit. Everybody's camera is off, so it's actually hard to relate with everybody. I mean, if we could actually make it more relatable, people could talk. It's at any point in time, it seems like it's just one or two people in the room, but yeah, I think we've just about 23 people. So yeah, I guess if you can just be free, people can talk, ask questions. That is actually that's actually going to be nice. Yeah, I'm not a medical engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer. Yeah. So,
Yes, medical engineer. I'm sorry.
yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. So I actually did mechanical engineering in school, and but right now I work as a front-end software developer. I've been in a lot of roles I'm not going to talk about, but then yeah, I just say I have a broad understanding of what it's like to change fields. If somebody is ever going to talk to you about changing fields, perhaps I'm the most qualified person here. Yeah, so I understand I'm talking to an audience of people already in the diaspora. Maybe I can't even classify myself like that because I've barely been. I was just about 8 months in the country. So I came from Nigeria, so not long ago. I'm going to make it as relatable as possible. I'm not going to share any screen, but yeah, just go ahead. I'll tell you how my life story has been, how I've come to where I am now, and yeah, what I consider the main points, the kind of the turning decisions I made in my life, and how you can also apply that to your journey, and basically all that you need to know from the lens of my experience. I remember sometime in 2018, I think that was just after I finished my service. I and three of my other colleagues, we finished from mechanical engineering from the same school. We found ourselves in the last interview stage of a job in Ogun State. It was just an engineering job. It wasn't one of those very good jobs, but yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? And then they were looking for just one person. And the interview process was very long. I think they had about 2 stages. And then the last stage was probably an assessment or something. Then there was just 3 of us there, and then they needed one person, 3 of us from the same school, from the same department. At the end of the day, they picked one of us, and that person wasn't me. Looking back at that experience, I'm kind of happy that didn't work out. Then their salary was 50,000 naira. So I think that's just something I remember from my past, and I'm like, yeah, what if what's happened like this didn't happen? So that was somebody that was with a degree in mechanical engineering, a good degree in mechanical engineering, and that was how my career would have gone by. So a bit after that point, I got into this experience with Andela. Andela was promising to train people for software development engineering. When I joined Andela, it wasn't exactly that they were training, right? But it was exactly that they were telling you what to learn. So that was a very important part of my journey. I'm going to come to that part later on in my talk. At the point, as somebody that wants to transition into tech, you need to have a roadmap for what you want to learn. It's as important as choosing what you want to do. So Andela gave me that platform. I didn't get into Andela eventually, but I did a couple of their boot camps, and then I got into a stage where I knew what I had to know to basically transition into tech, right? I'm also coming from Nigeria. I also want to note that you see, it doesn't really matter what you have done. It doesn't really matter what field you are coming from. It's perfectly okay to have detours. It's perfectly okay to, I don't know, do something, do nothing, do whatever you want to do. If you actually want to get into tech, you can get into tech. It doesn't matter what you have done. In fact, for my case, it was a lot of roller coaster because I actually started tech. I learned tech for about a year, almost 2 years, mostly self-learning. And then when I couldn't really land a good job in tech because I was still a beginner, I couldn't land an internship. And I was looking for money. Of course, I needed money to survive. I got into EcoBank then. From EcoBank, I went to Deloitte. But basically, I've just worked in other companies that were totally unrelated to what I wanted to do in the end. But it really doesn't matter if you have a detour somewhere in your career. You can actually fix yourself eventually, so long as you have that focus. Yeah, another point is like, I hear a lot of people talk about their careers, and you get the point that a lot of people have it all planned out from the beginning. And I don't believe that is the case, right? It is okay to not have it all planned out. Some people just wing it in life, and it is what it is. You don't really have control over a lot of things that happen in this life, but there are things you have control over, right? And those are the things that you should actually focus on controlling. At a point in my life, I found myself, I was in one of the big fours, and coincidentally, we are working in the same building with Microsoft. So what it means is that I was going to work every day doing a role I didn't want to do. And every day I was coming across tech people, basically people that were doing the role I wanted to do. It wasn't the happiest moment of my life, but that was a constant reality check for me. So I didn't have it all planned out at that point. I was only telling my colleagues, hey, guy, I know I'm not supposed to be here. I would be much better if I was in this role. I have a little bit of knowledge I have gained working in this role, and this is not where I should be. And eventually, it was just like opportunities kept coming to actually eventually transition into tech, right? So how do you go about this this is something that you would like to do, right? The most important thing, which is where you have control over. There's a lot of stuff you don't have control over. You need money, you need a job, you don't have control over it. You studied botany in school, you don't have control over it, right? What you get is what you get. What you don't get is what you don't get. So where you have control over is one, you can decide what you want to do, right? For me, Andela helped me with that process. It was at that point I decided, web development is something that is very good to me. For me, this is something I can definitely do. For tech, we have what I would say 3 major roles. It doesn't almost always depend on where you want to be. You can always in almost any field you find yourself, you can almost always divide them into UI, UX, front end, and back end. It's almost always going to be one of these 3 fields, except you are doing something like AI or data science, one of these new fields that are in tech, or perhaps a project management role, which in my opinion, you should actually get into project management only after you have done tech for a while, because that gives you some beginner knowledge to work with. So majorly, I'm going to just focus on UI, UX, front end and back end, right? It's good to know what you will like to do from these 3 roles, right? And how are you going to go about this? I had Andela for my time. It could be a few internships. You could talk to a few friends and experienced people who have worked in these tech roles to know what it is like to work in those places. An internship is going to work best if that is something that is accessible to you. Of course, if you are abroad, that is very accessible to you. If you're in Nigeria too, right now, it's actually very accessible. There is a lot of companies springing up that will tell you internships because they don't want to pay you. That is a perfect opportunity. If you have time, you can take 2-3 months and just get into this field, know whether it's something you like. A lot of people think that UI UX is easy, right? Because it involves creativity. For me, it's not easy. A lot of people think that maybe back end is hard because some people think that front end is hard because some people think that, okay, I'm a technical person, so I can do this or I can do that. So basically, based on your preference, pick up something. And then after you've picked up something, the next thing actually that you have to do is to map out the learning plan. So these are the 2 things that you can control in your tech journey, right? Choose what to do and then map out the learning plan. If you want to do UI, UX, talk to people in the field. What do you think you needed to learn for this stuff? It's not like each of these 3 fields has a lot of options depending on where you want to go, really, to say the least, right? If you met me and you wanted to do front end, right? I know what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell, okay, this is what you need to learn. This is where you need to start. You need to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then map out such a learning plan and follow it till the end. But these are the 2 things you can control. You can pick something you want to do, and then you can pick a learning plan and stick to your learning plan. A lot of a common mistake I've also seen people do is some people have started a learning plan they want to, go through, and then because a lot of people are self-learning like myself, right? And then somewhere in the middle, you just switch, or you see something that looks interesting, and then you just switch, and you think you can do everything. No, you can't really do everything. Because, for example, for only front-end development, you have to learn I don't know, maybe a minimum of about 10 technologies to get started, something like that. So there's a lot of stuff you just need to know to be able to get into this practice. So it's good to start with something and then make sure you continue with what you have started. For my case, finished school around 2015, around 2017, I was done with my service. And then from 2017, about 2 years, basically, I was just doing self-learning, which later formed the foundation that I was able to eventually transition into tech. So yeah, make a learning plan and then make sure you follow it. So this is going to get me to just 3 points. These are 3 things I've always been recurring in my career that's I think is going to be useful, right? It's important if you position yourself to take up opportunities in the future. For myself, yeah, my almost 2 years of self-learning, but I know someone else that's not just one person. I know some people that have gone the route of getting a degree. Actually, the most popular one now is people just go to the UK and then they get a degree in data science. If that is the route that works for you, nice, right? So some people go and then get a degree. Some people prefer the self-learning route. And that's the beautiful thing about tech, right? It doesn't matter. Nobody asks you what you did in school. Nobody asks you how you learned it. Nobody wants to see 20 certificates on Udemy. What a company is going to do these days, they are going to call you, give you an interview. A lot of them might give you an assessment. Some people might give you a mock task to see how you are going to perform on it. So in tech, what matters is what you can do. Nobody's looking at your certification. And that is the beautiful thing about tech. So there's a lot of pathways that you could take that could work for you. And then another thing I've also noticed in this journey is if you've started something and it's hard, right? Let me say you've looked at UI, UX, you've looked at front end, you've looked at back end, which is the 3 I'm actually quite exposed to. I look at data science, and you see that a lot of people are rushing to say one of those roles because they feel it is easy. I think that is a sign for you that you should probably avoid that role. Now, this is one thing in this field. If something is really, really hard, the probability is that there's not a lot of people doing it. I'm going to tell you a story that is very personal for me, right? In my final year of mechanical engineering, this was like one of the first viewpoints for me. In my final year of mechanical engineering, we basically had 3 units that people could go to. One of the units, people were afraid because of the lecturers there. They felt that they were wicked and you couldn't graduate and the courses are hard. At the end of the day, I joined that unit. It was just based on intuition. I was like, if nobody's going for this, perhaps I should go for this. I'll probably chill since I'll be alone with other people. And I was right. The first unit had 100 and something people in there. The second unit had about 45. My unit had just 9. There were just 9 of us. But the funny thing, because there were 9 of us, we had a very close relationship with our lecturers. We were always turning up, and it was more like a conversation than lectures most of the time. And at the end of the day, my unit graduated with the best results in the whole department by ratio. So there was a lot more of us by ratio that qualified than the other units. So it's almost always a blessing when you go for the hard path. Right now, I'm a front-end developer and I work with Angular. At the point in my career, I had an option between learning Angular and learning React. And if you've had a little experience in any of these 2 things, you would know that Angular has a very steep learning curve. There's a lot of stuff that you have to learn to know. React is very easy. React is mostly easy. It's like, yeah, you can start with this and then you can add up on your knowledge. But I'm very glad I learned Angular now, right? Angular opportunities are a lot for experienced Angular people. As long as you have about 2 years of experience in Angular, you can choose to change companies at any time. It is that easy, I tell you. Like, I'm not really bothered about where I am. I'm not really bothered that I may run out of jobs at any time. I get DMs in my like on my LinkedIn every time, and I just ignore because I'm not ready to move. So the job security is standard when something is much harder. So that is one thing you have to keep in mind. Don't go to the path of what everybody is doing, and then you find out that there's almost no opportunities because a lot of people are in it. And that is what is happening to some tech roles right now. There's a lot of people in a lot of tech roles, and it's like there's not enough jobs for everybody. But then there are other tech roles that, I mean, companies are actually looking for people to come. So yeah, that means if it's too easy, you shouldn't really be doing it, believe me. Yeah, so I think that's about it. I would just like to make this as interactive as possible. Any questions, I would unmute your mic, speak, and then let's hear and address that.
Thanks, Nonso. Thank you for sharing very personal and relatable experience. Thank you. So does anyone have, okay, Paul is raising it. Please go ahead, Paul.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Nonso, for sharing your thoughts and the experience and everything. Sorry, my camera is off also as well. It's just because everybody is not putting their camera. That's why I decided to.
No, we have
no problem.
No,
I mean, if you're in a place where you can put on your camera, it's fine. I mean, we just get to meet each other. It's not
half of the people are not putting on their camera. That's why,
yeah, I mean, nice.
So no problem. It's fine. So yeah, my question is so for me, I'm having the problem of which particular place to, or which particular tech role to actually major into.
Okay.
Number one, I don't like coding. That's why I've always not wanted to even go into tech. But when someone mentioned earlier that you really don't, that there are non-coding
roles.
There are roles in tech. So that's giving me like a little bit of more interest in having to go into tech. So my background basically, I did electrical engineering from my BSc.
Okay.
I'm currently doing my master's in engineering management with project management, and then I'm also having to actually take some Prince 2 certifications and everything within the next 3 months. So right now I'm practicing for my Prince 2 foundation. Then from there I should probably do my practitioner and then do my PMP and everything. So that's just my little background. Then, well, so I basically don't know what particular non-coding tech role that I feel is the best for me to probably go into. I've always set my mind on doing project management, but like you said what people are like the major so I feel everybody is currently doing project management right now. So like you said, it's most likely possible that all the jobs there will probably be gone very soon. So what other roles do you think someone can probably go into that will be probably easy for someone to probably just learn and at least get something going as soon as possible?
Are you in Nigeria at the moment, or you are outside of Nigeria?
No, I'm currently in England.
Yeah, in England. So you already have this direction towards project management, right? And
yes,
in my opinion, it's actually easier for you to get something in project management right now, given that you already have a master's. Yeah.
Okay.
So the only thing I know is there's project management in a lot of roles. There is tech project management, and most tech project management people I've worked with, they've almost always had a background in tech, right? Because you need to know when your developers are bubbling you. We can bubble you a lot if we find out that you don't know what you're talking about. So project management has a lot of space too. I see you as a technical person. I would say as a technical person, you can actually look at a field like data science and AI. The coding in data science and AI, I would say, is not as much as what you would see in other, let me say, tech roles. They tend to use a lot of Python, and then they tend to use a lot of pipelines, basically a lot of cloud infrastructure that you just need to understand the languages of. So I wouldn't say that data science people do a lot of coding like I do, for example. Project management, however, is also a good direction to go. And given that you are in England, I wouldn't think that it's hard for you to get a project management role after your master's in England, definitely.
I don't know. So just to chip in on what you said, I mean, good answer. Just to chip in on that, it is, I don't think they are currently giving sponsorship for project management roles for students after school.
In England?
Yeah, in England, I'm not sure. So you might want to confirm that. But what I like to advise people who are just getting started or trying to get an introductory into tech is find which of these roles play to your strength. I switched careers to cybersecurity. I studied economics in my undergraduate. And before I decided to eventually do cybersecurity, I played around for a bit. I like numbers. I tried to do data analysis, but I wasn't particularly enjoying it. Maybe I didn't get the role I wanted. I wanted to do business analysis. Somehow I got myself in cybersecurity bootcamp, which was a weekend. It was an introductory course. And that was where I fell in love with it. Why did I love it? You were talking about so many things. They said you could hack, they said you could do this, you could search for threats online, you could do malware analysis. Everything sounded fun because for me, it was looking like if I'm not interested in doing one part of cybersecurity again, I can go to another part of cybersecurity. So I think what you need to do is find which of these roles that you like. Find these step roles. Like if you go online, you can search for a lot of roles and then find the ones that fit your strengths. Look for people that are in this field. Use LinkedIn a lot. A lot of people on LinkedIn are willing to make impacts on people, help them, guide them, to speak to them. You can schedule calls. If you find someone, go look for a Nigerian, maybe somebody that went to your school or someone that works in, that you worked where you worked in Nigeria. There are ways you can find a way to connect people. And with that, you can, have conversations. I just wanted to know what's a day like in your life. Do you have to code? Fun fact, I never had to do anything that related to coding since I've been working in security. I worked in a security operation role. I didn't have to code. What you just have to do is read logs, read packets. The only time I've had to do anything that related to code when he's doing application security, and that is not really much of code, but you have to be able to understand some internet gibberish. So there's so much to do from your end. Just know what's your strength, because you say you like project management, which is great. How can you apply it coming from your other background, bring it together and present it in the tech role you're looking for? Hope that makes sense. Emmanuel has his hands. Please, can you make the question short and Nonso will answer?
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity, and thanks Nonso for this amazing time right now. Actually, it seems you're just talking about me. I don't know how, but yeah, my name is Emmanuel. So I'm currently in Poland right now. So when I was in Nigeria, so I was getting along with Python. So then I kind of lose interest or so. So I relocated down to Poland. I wanted to get sharp work, So I got a role in data that time. So it was not, the company kind of stopped their stuff that they were doing here in Poland. So I was trying to navigate since then. That was last year, this thing happened. So since last year, I was trying to navigate which role and all that would be suitable for me. So I got along with latest trend in blockchain, web development. So I started learning JavaScript. So I've done little projects. So my questions, I'll just be as fast and short in my question. So my question is, right now I've built some projects on my GitHub on front end, and also I've done some blockchain application, decentralized application, the rest of them. So my own issue now is I'm having problem about, they see me as a beginner or kind of, but how can I get into this internship that you were saying, or that when you have first company that, okay, I've got into so and so practicalized experience with them, I think it would be more easier for somebody to navigate or something like that. So that's my question.
Okay. Actually, you have a unique opportunity, I would say. I like to hear stories like yours. But the thing is, I've heard a lot of stuff that you're doing, and that is the question. That is the problem why you don't really seem to have a lot of experience. I've heard blockchain engineering, I've heard web development, and at the same time, I've heard data science. So these are three broad fields. These are very, very big fields. I know nothing about blockchain engineering, bro. I know almost nothing about data science. I only know Python because that was what I started to learn. Now, you need to pick one. That is the problem, right? You have projects already in front end. Play to your strengths and play to which one you also have experience in. Make your choice. That is what matters, right? Now, if you have picked this stuff, one thing that also helped me, which I should have mentioned earlier, was you need to know how to present yourself. You need to have a very good CV. But your CV needs to sell you. You see, in this work that we are doing, bro, your CV is like one of those things that you can control. And you need to know how to do interviews. Maybe because I've done a lot of interviews in a lot of spaces, I know how to basically turn my interview into a conversation. It's going to help you a lot in your career if you know how to do interviews and you know how to have a very well-structured CV. So internship positions now is what you need, I think. Maybe not necessarily internship. There's a lot of opportunities. So what I would say, if I were you, put up my experience in my CV, right? Make sure I have everything. Have the link to my GitHub projects I have done. But you know how to praise yourself, like glorify your experience on your CV. Let it be like, this is what I have done. This is my projects. These are the links to my projects I have done. GitHub, you can deploy it on GitHub pages or whatever, Frontify. Have a working prototype of it, for example. Have it on your LinkedIn, have it on your CV. The question I cannot answer is where you're going to get those internship opportunities. There are internship opportunities everywhere, but if you position yourself to take up those opportunities, you're going to find those opportunities. And positioning yourself is putting out those skills at the front, at the front.
Yeah.
Detail what you have done on your CV, detail it on your LinkedIn, and then but the opportunities are going to come along. I believe there are internships everywhere. If it was in Nigeria, even I used to live in Aba. Aba was like Abia State. There was like nothing happening there. But right now there are like 3 companies offering internships in Aba. You can just go there and learn tech. So I don't believe that tech internships are rare to find now because there's a lot of companies that don't want to pay you, and especially overseas. I know there are internships in overseas. I've not had the experience with internships overseas yet, so I can't really tell you. If you're in Nigeria, I can tell you where to go to, right? So I believe there are internship opportunities for you. So pick your struggle and then position yourself. Simple.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Nice. And of course, don't stop practicing. Keep on practicing. Keep on building apps.
Sure. Thank you.
Personal branding is like very important. What I'm going to ask in that conversation is again, leverage on people. Just have you package your GitHub, your what you have. Go on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, people use LinkedIn. Some people might say LinkedIn is overrated. Yes, it can be, but again, it's working for a lot of people. Go to LinkedIn. When I was trying to do business analysis, one of the things I did was, messaging a couple of people that were business analysts in different companies in Nigeria. And I remember there was this particular guy. He read my message to him and he did not respond. And I was just like, this guy. But guess what? He sent me an opening like 2-3 months later. He said they were looking for a junior business analyst role. And then he just remembered that I sent him a message. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm currently in this opportunity, so I wouldn't be. So yeah, there's that. Go, find a way to say, hi, my name is Emmanuel. I'm currently this, I've been working on this and that. And I saw your profile, I thought to reach out that maybe you can, if there are opportunities you can point me to, or if there's anyone within your company. People would share information. People are looking for these skill sets. You have skills in blockchain engineering. That's not very common. So there is definitely opportunities that are bound for you. So don't stop talking to people. Don't stop making noise about yourself. So publicize yourself, speak about yourself confidently, the work you're doing, and what you've done, your reach. Use Twitter. People would share, information there. And so we need to wrap up this session so that Lade can come up. So 2 questions I'm going to wrap into one. So we have 2 questions, one from Udemy and one from Anthony. So Udemy said, what are the tech roles in demand now and tech roles that will be in demand in a couple of years to come? And Anthony said, could you please highlight some of the tech areas that you feel are difficult, that there are few people in? So can you answer in 1 minute?
Yeah, I'll try to give it as short as possible. What are the tech roles in demand right now? There's been a lot of buzz about AI and how AI is going to take jobs away from us. But I think it's for now. I don't have faith in that for now. So just continue to do what you do, right? I use ChatGPT for my work. And a lot of times, ChatGPT used to bubble me. It will give me wrong answer. ChatGPT cannot tell you it doesn't know. So a lot of the time, it can just give you wrong answers to a very complex task. So I don't really think that any of our jobs are going out at any moment now. There's been a lot of buzz about data science. There's been a lot of buzz about AI, right? Those things are new and coming out. So if you really want something new, data science is a bit, people feel like the entry is that low. I think AI is actually a bit tougher, I would say, right? And if you're looking at something that is hard, blockchain engineering, blockchain is also not a role that a lot of people know about. There are a few blockchain engineers. So if you really are looking to make very big bucks, blockchain is something that you might want to look at. For the future, of course, I mean, people are talking about AI. They're saying AI is going to take our jobs away, right? I mean, I'm waiting. So I guess you might look at AI and then blockchain. These are 2 very promising fields, I would say.
Thank you. And
there might be other roles, I mean, I don't know about, because it's a very big field, I tell you.
I want to add to that. So there is cybersecurity. I feel like people say things to push cybersecurity.
Yeah, cyber, you're right.
So security, you can look at cloud security, there's blockchain security, there is cloud is growing. So come into bring your knowledge.
Yeah.
So the thing about security is you have to learn a lot. You have to be diverse. If you have to be able to, you have to be fluid to be able to move across different areas or roles in security. So there's so much to learn. And just as Toby mentioned in the chat, software testing, people, there will always be developers, and developers will always put in bogus codes or bugs in their code. So who's going to review it? So there's need for software testing, quality assurance. There are so many roles that you can explore. You mentioned Scrum Master as well. So just need to check that. And very important thing that he mentioned, leverage on our networks. Emmanuel, I believe this is for you. So leverage on your networks and people that you have around you. Okay, thank you so much. So this session was great. I'm sure, I don't know if there's anyone that has more questions. Please drop it in the chat. Maybe Nonso can respond to your messages in the chat. Now, to wrap up the last session for today, our last speaker is Lade. Lade is Lade Tawak, works as an experienced designer and UX researcher, and she has worked with startups, agencies, and multinationals across the globe through research, training, consulting, and facilitation. She has an academic background in psychology and is also a career coach, a writer, speaker, and startup mentor. And she's passionate about Jesus, her family, teaching, and building products, people, and communities. Thank you very much for joining us today, Lade. Handing over to you now. You're on mute.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I actually have slides, so I'm going to share my screen.
By all means, please do.
Just give me a second, because with Zoom, I'm always confused about how to share my screen. Zoom is so complicated compared to every other tool that exists in this life. Let's see. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, that's not working.
You catch it now.
I think I will just go without the slides and
You
just
can share your slides so that in case someone sees something that the share screen option beside chat.
I can see the share screen, but like the actual screen to now share is the problem.
Oh, okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
maybe if you've used Teams, you probably appreciate Zoom.
Oh no, I use Teams. Is a better sharing experience than Zoom.
What?
There are many things wrong about Teams, but this is one of them. But anyway, can you see the screen?
Still sharing, hasn't come up.
Sharing the wrong screen. See what I said about this app is horrible. Can you see it now?
It's a blank screen.
You know what? I'm just going to share my entire. How do you share your entire?
Sorry.
If I speak.
Zoom warriors will come for you.
Zoom is the worst thing I've ever used. Okay. All right, cool. I think we're now there. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
We did it. Hallelujah.
Glory.
Okay. So in summary, I'm going to be talking about no-code paths to a career in tech. So how you can work in tech if you don't want to code. So Fabi already talked about some of the things I do, so I'm just going to skip that. So what does it mean to work in tech? And I'm a very like interactive kind of talk person. So like there are questions that you have to answer, and if you don't answer, we will not continue, that kind of thing. And now I can't see the chat anymore, which is very strange because Zoom is very complicated. Like I said.
If there's anything in the chat, I'll call your attention to it.
I can see I found it. So what do you think it means to work in tech? Anybody at all, you can just type something in the chat. Anybody? Anything? Develop technology. Okay. Anybody that is not Fabi? Customer relationships. Cool. All right. So I asked this because whenever people hear working in tech, they immediately think software developer, or more recently, they think maybe UI UX designer or UX designer, or those roles that you hear a lot, usually software developer. But if you think about it, if somebody says that, and again, I want to see responses in the chat. If someone says, I am a lawyer that works at Shell, what industry would you say they work in?
Oil and gas.
Okay. If someone says they are a HR manager and they work at GTB, what industry would you say they work in?
Banking and finance.
Exactly. So I hope you see where I'm going with this. You don't have to write the actual code that builds the products for you to work in tech. Essentially, that's what I'm saying. And this is how I define working in tech as contributing to the development of a product or to an organization that creates that product. So in this case, software, it could be software or hardware products, which is why I just say product. So if you contribute directly to the development of a product, or you contribute to an organization that creates such a software or hardware product that is tech-based, then you work in tech. So now, if you want to code, there are so many things to do if you don't want to code. And this is just some of them. There's design, which most people are familiar with. There's also, like, you can be an operations manager, you can work in accounting, you can be an accountant that works in tech, you can be a compliance officer that works in tech, you can be a product manager that works in tech, you can be a business analyst that works in tech. You can do so many things, and you can have a quote unquote tech role and not work in a tech company necessarily. So they're like a hotel, for example, they use software. So they probably also need like a cybersecurity person or somebody who does like systems analysis or whatever. Like, there's so many things you can do. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to work in a tech company, or that you have to have like you have to learn how to code or anything. But before I continue, a bit of my own background is I've been working in tech. Next year makes it 10 years that I've been working in tech. And I started out working in tech as a content writer and social media manager. So I was writing copy for social media, for ads, for startups. And a couple of years after, I started working as a UX researcher. And I wasn't planning to work as a UX researcher. In fact, 7 years ago, I know what a UX researcher was, but like maybe like 8 years ago, 10 years ago when I started working in tech, I didn't know what UX was or what a UX researcher was or any of those things. I was just curious. I wanted to work in tech, and I started with what I already knew how to do, which is write. I was already writing, I was already doing social media. And so then I started working with startups because I had a friend who was a software developer that had a digital marketing agency, and I was working for the agency as a writer. Right. So the first thing is you really have to start with where you are and what you know and what you can do and what you like. And at the same time, I was trying to learn how to code. I did Code Academy, I did Journal Assembly Dash, I did all of those things. I learned how to write in HTML and CSS, and it was boring. Like, it was so boring to me. I was like, I can't do this for a long time. And so I started like going to tech meetups, just going up and down really, and going everywhere, seeing all the meetups haphazardly. And then I somehow stumbled into this design meetup called UX Lagos then. And I was like, this is so interesting. Like, wow, this is interesting to me. And so I just kept going. At this point, I still wasn't thinking about like working in UX or being a UX researcher. I was just going to the meetups and still doing my writing and doing my psychology studies. And because my grand plan was I will be a therapist and I will work primarily with tech companies as a therapist. That was my grand plan. But somewhere along the line, an opportunity came up for a UX researcher. And if you've seen UX research roles, you often see like things like a background in psychology, sociology, anthropology, etc. And so that was like an advantage for me, like my studying psychology. And they reached out to me. So the company that used to host the meetup that I was going to, the UX Lagos meetup that I used to go to then, they were hiring for their first UX researcher role, because there was already like a UX team, there was a UX manager and all of these things. And so I honestly wasn't still thinking about it, but I was like, worst case, I don't enjoy this. Best case, I like it. So when they asked me if I was interested, so it's like, so have you considered a career in research? I was like, oh yes, of course, definitely. But I hadn't. I honestly hadn't. But when the opportunity came up, I was like, sure, why not? Let's do it. And so I had my interview, which I sucked at, by the way, because up until then I hadn't done like a proper formal interview. It was terrible, but for some reason they still took a chance on me, and I started working there as a UX researcher. And this year makes it, I think, 7 years as a UX researcher. I think this year makes it, I've forgotten, but so I've been doing this for quite some time. And in that time, I've worked in a bunch of places. And but I will continue back into my story, but back to the non-coding tech roles. The sales, QA, well, some people consider QA to be coding. It just depends. There's UX, there's HR, there's all kinds of things, digital marketing, comms, customer support, which is actually one of the easiest ways to get into tech, working in customer support. I will talk more about that later, but keep that in mind. So how do you build your career in tech? Yes, Feby, sales is very undersold and underrepresented, because a lot of companies, especially when you're dealing with B2B companies, especially the ones that sell to enterprise, sales is huge for them. Yeah, so how do you build your career in tech? A quote that I enjoy so much, I don't know if somebody else came up with it, but I say it a lot. I don't know if I came up with it or I saw it somewhere and stuck, but it's not about who you know or what you know. It's about who knows you know what you know. So you could be the best artist in the whole world, as in Picasso who, if you do a sketch or a drawing, like the best. But if nobody knows that you are the best and you have the insanest, maddest, bestest skills when it comes to drawing or painting or whatever, then it can't profit you. It can't be a profitable skill for you. If you are the best software developer in the whole universe, in fact, in the whole multiverse, and nobody knows that you can code, what does it profit you? So again, not about who you know or what you know, because you may know all the people who are hiring, but if they don't know that this is a skill that you have, then they can't hire you. All right, so how do you then do this to grow your career? So you want to learn about the industry. You want to learn some of the technical jargon, the words that people say, things like they say Scrum, they say Agile, waterfall. What do all those things mean? You need to learn the jargon of the industry. You need to learn you don't need to know everything in depth, but you need to have like at least surface level knowledge of some things. There's this idea of something called a T-shaped designer. And the idea is that you have breadth, like the letter T, there's the top and then the T, and then you have depth. I have changed that. I believe that the T-shaped designer or T-shaped professional is too restrictive, and I think of it as a comb shape or a broken comb professional. So picture like your Afro comb. There are like multiple prongs, and then in the broken comb illustration, some of the prongs are broken, which means that some are shorter and some are longer. And so you have breadth of knowledge on like different kinds of things, and then you have depth at varying levels on different kinds of things. So for example, my main strength, like my biggest strength, is research. So that's my longest prong. But also I do some product management, I do some product strategy. And so I have different levels of depth on different skills. So you can't just be super skilled at just one thing and then abandon everything else. I personally don't believe that. There are people that tell you to niche down and focus on that one thing. I'm good at that one thing forever and ever and ever. I believe that that is a mistake and a bad decision, because should that skill become obsolete for whatever reason or not in demand, you can't quickly transition and jump into something else. You have to be broad and deep as well. Be open to opportunities. Identify your skills, identify things that you like, try new things. So like I said, I started working in tech as a writer because that was the thing that I knew how to do the easiest, and it was the first opportunity that opened up to me. Because also people come to me and say, oh, I have, should I do UX research, or should I do design, or should I do this, or should I do that? Like, do whichever one comes to your hand first. The first opportunity that you see that makes sense, take it and see how it goes for you. And then identify the places you could work at. There's so many, like we already established, there's so many places you could work at. There are people who have tech skills that are not working at what you consider to be traditional tech companies. I have a software developer friend who works at Tommy Hilfiger. Like, it's not a connection you immediately make, but there is something to do. There's no difficult necessarily, it's not difficult necessarily. What is difficult for me may not be difficult for you. So I wouldn't say that any role is more difficult than any other role. It's just the perception that people have that, oh, something is difficult. It's just, for some people, some things are easier than other things. And so you start with what is easier for you, even though it may be difficult for somebody else. And then you can also even like challenge yourself to the things that you consider to be difficult, but they may be very profitable, and then go do those ones instead, or as well, while you have put in your foot with the easy thing that you like. So like I was saying, you want to learn about the industry, you want to identify the organizations you can work at, you want to know your skills. And the most important thing is to be open to opportunities. Like, you can't be shut off to opportunities. Like I said earlier, customer support is one of the easiest ways to transition into tech in any kind of tech industry, company, whatever, because people always, especially if you're, in fact, for both B2B and B2C, customer support is very, very important. Also sales or account management, whichever you want to call it, relationship management, account manager, customer support, anything that deals with like interacting with customers and managing customer complaints, managing customer relationships. Those are the easiest ways, because companies are always hiring for those roles. People always need customer support people or assistants. And from there, they're very easy direct switches. Like, you can go from customer support to product design, to product management, to people experience roles. But really, you can transition anywhere. I know people who have gone from customer support to software development, from HR to cybersecurity, from sales to product management. Like, you can move anywhere from one role to another role. You just need to develop the skills required for whatever new role you want to go to. But it's easier to switch when you are in a company, to switch from one role to another role. So when I worked at InterSwitch, I remember very well the person who, when I joined, the person who was the receptionist for my building, because InterSwitch had like multiple buildings on the same street. The person who was the receptionist at my building, by the time I was leaving InterSwitch, she was now on the comms team. She was on the communications team as a writer on the comms team. So once you join a company, it's much easier to switch into a new role versus coming from outside, like, or maybe before you were a writer somewhere, and then you want to go to another company and join as a software developer or a designer. It is possible. I know people who have done things like that, but it's much harder than you joining a company as a writer and then switching to a product designer within that same company. That is much easier. from what I know and what I've seen people do, definitely much easier to do internal transfers within like to other roles than external switches to other roles. So don't like turn off like, oh, I can't do customer support, I can't do this, I can't do that. Like, be open to opportunities and like have a plan for how you want to progress. And you can even, people do remain in those opportunities and do very great for themselves there. So which is not to say that you can't do customer support or you can't do sales support or sales. As long as you enjoy it, if matches your skills, matches your interests, you're working in a company you like and you're earning well, then please feel free to remain if that's what you want to do. So here are some examples of people who switched from customer support to other roles. Ibukun and Teju, I know personally. Teju started working at a company called Bycoins as the executive assistant to the CEO. And after some time, she became the, if I recall correctly, now head of growth or head of products for a particular pillar in the company, and has transitioned to work with a US-based company as a product manager. Ibukun as well started working as an executive assistant to tech CEOs, and then eventually ended up as the West Africa lead for a multinational fintech. So you can make those transitions if you want. And this is the first screenshot there. I don't know the person I just saw this tweet, and this was from like a few years ago. These slides are very old, so this was from a few years ago. And the person is sharing examples of people who from customer support went on to product management, product development, sales, etc. So yeah, just be open to opportunities basically. And there was something that I think his name is Nonso, the previous speaker, said that I want to also emphasize is career plans are great. Like, it's good to have a plan, have a vision in mind, have a goal, but don't like hold on too tightly to those plans. Be flexible with your plans. Like I said in the beginning, my goal was to finish my psychology degree, go on and do like all the things that will get me to be a therapist, get a PhD, and then start working with tech companies as a therapist or whatever. But an opportunity came up and I explored that opportunity, and it has led me to very amazing things. And I'm enjoying it still. So I'm still doing it. Maybe in a few years, I won't be doing it anymore. I may have switched to something else, which is a thing I'm considering at the moment. But the point is, don't hold on too tightly to whatever plan. So you may have come into the space thinking that, oh, I want to be a designer, but then you're seeing more other opportunities in a different role, maybe like product management or something. Go ahead and do that. You can always go back and do design if that's what you really want to do. But if you don't start doing something, you won't know if you like it or if you will be good at it, because people are always like, oh, what are you passionate about? What are you passionate about? And I think that that's a very bad question and a bad thing to frame your life decisions on, because sometimes you don't know the things that you're passionate about until you start doing them. I wouldn't say that I'm passionate about UX research, because to be honest, I'm not passionate about jobs. I'm passionate about like people and food. People and food, is it? But I do enjoy doing UX research, but 8 years ago, I didn't know what it was. So if I had only gone with like, what am I passionate about? I probably wouldn't have gone into UX research, which doing that has been really great for like my life and my career in general. So other things like how to grow, how to get into tech and grow your career is to create work, do things. So it's not enough to say that, oh, I want to be a designer, or I want to be a software developer, I want to do whatever else there is. You have to actually do things. And doing things can be collaborating with people to create something, working on a project, volunteering with a nonprofit, do something, taking a course, do something, create something, show the value of the work that you're doing, contribute to communities. There's so many, and I think that this is really, really easy for software developers because there's like, or people who want to go into that, because there's like so much open source things that you can contribute to show your skills. Designers, I also know that there's like a lot of things happening with like open source design as well. So just figure out like, what skills do you want to develop or do you need to develop, and how can you show that you have developed these skills? And then a very key component is being visible. I have a resource about that I can share if you're interested. But the summary is that, back to my earlier quotes, if nobody knows, it's not who you know or what you know, is who knows you know what you know. You need to share that you know what you know. And how do you do that? You write articles, and this can be Medium, it can be LinkedIn, it can be a short post on your LinkedIn. You finish a course. It's not, don't just like, oh, I finished this course, here's my certificates. What did you learn from that course? Oh, I'm so excited that I finished this course. I learned ABC 1, 2, 3, and this is how I will be applying it going forward, or how I intend to apply it, or how it can be applied. So it's going beyond, I finished this course, here's my certificate, I'm posting it on LinkedIn. That's not being visible. Being visible is, I finished this course, this is what I learned, this is how it could be applied, right? And so you do that in different ways. You can write a blog post, write on a Medium publication. You can put on LinkedIn. If you're a visual designer or you're doing anything that has like visual complements, Instagram is great, posting on Instagram. I was just thinking as well that, like, for me personally, the only job that I got by applying to is my current job. Every other job and opportunity I've gotten before now, it was always by people who maybe they read an article that I wrote, or they attended a talk that I gave, or they saw something that I did somewhere, and then they reached out to me and said, oh, we would like to hire you for this role, or we would like to invite you to interview for this role, right? So it's really about, how do you make it as easy as possible for yourself to get opportunities, or for opportunities to even come to you? Because there are opportunities that exist that you will not be aware of. It's not even might. There are many opportunities that you will never be aware of, except somebody reaches out to you. And how do you make it easy for people to find you? Is by having things out there that they can see. And even when you're reaching out to people, like if you're like, oh, I'm looking for opportunities in this area, in this particular role, it helps when you have things to show that you've done, like, oh, I wrote this blog post about this topic, or I did this app, I created this website, whatever. Just show something to show, right? Post your articles, post what you've learned when you complete a course, or when you do volunteer things, do it like do all things as unto Christ, right? Do it well and be excellent at everything, and then share the valuable things that you're doing. And then the final thing, which is very surprising that people don't do, is ask. People actually don't ask a lot. And the problem is that people not only don't ask, they don't ask the right way. When you want to ask for something, you have to be very specific about your ask. You can't message someone like, oh, I'm looking for roles, any roles. Just say, like, that's not a specific ask. You need to be very specific. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I've done. This is how you can help me. Don't message people and say hello and then disappear, wait for them to reply back. They're not going to reply you. If somebody messages you just saying hello, wouldn't you be like, what does this person want? You don't know what they want, so you're probably not going to reply. So when you want to message somebody about like looking for opportunities or transitioning into a new role or learning about their work, whatever it is, you need to be very clear and specific about what it is that you're asking for, what you need from them, and how they can help. When I was considering going back into fully back into psychology, I literally posted on LinkedIn that I am looking for opportunities to volunteer in a psychology research lab. Literally posted on LinkedIn, and I got so many opportunities. I ended up not taking on any of them because they were all full-time volunteer opportunities. And I was looking for things that I could do part-time because it was still a consideration. But I got so many opportunities just from that LinkedIn post because it was very clear and specific, and people were tagging people that they knew that could help with those opportunities on that post, right? So it's simply just ask, and it shall be given unto you. So just ask. So when you've done all the work that you need to do, you've built up a nice portfolio or case study or something that you can show for yourself, you've learned the things that you need to learn, share them out there, and then ask. At the end of your article, you can literally, if you write an article about something that you've learned or you've done, you can, at the end, write that you're open to opportunities. Like, there's no shame in asking for what you want. So, in summary, visibility is the name of the game. And it's not like empty barreling. Like, don't be an empty barrel. Actually have something to show for all the things that you're saying, because we see a lot where people are like very visible and very public, and then when you look behind, there's nothing there. Don't be like that. Actually have something before you then go out and try to be visible. And that's all my slides.
Super. Thank you, Lade. Does anyone have any question? Yeah. But yeah, this was very great. Funny, when I think someone was asking, when I think it was Paul that was asking for non-technical role, I was going to say, something tells me that Lade is going to answer your question. So yeah, very spot on. I think this has spoken well to the crowd. If anyone has questions, please feel free to drop any comments. I know we're really over time, but thank you so much for waiting. Everyone that's been on the call since, thank you so much for waiting. If there are currently no questions for Lade, this has been really good. Just before, like, Lade, are you happy to share the slides?
Let me see. I think it's actually, let me just check. I think
Okay,
I have public
I
slides.
can ask, and then I guess across to, if you're on the group, you'll get it on the group. So just before we wrap up, I just want to acknowledge Steph. Steph, I don't know if Steph is off the call right now, but thank you for your support always, and always being there in doing this, leading this career group together with Mo and myself. Thank you for all the work that you do. Oh, Paul is raising his hand. Sure, Paul, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Lade, for sharing your bit of experience. So basically, for you, from what I actually learned, or from what I've been able to listen to so far, you were able to actually get into all these roles basically because people knew what you do, and then they were able to reach out to you directly, and then from there you're able to probably get the experience and everything. So what about for people who really are not out there like that, and they really don't know how to probably position themselves basically for people to know what they do? So take for example, if you're probably on LinkedIn and you probably have, like, let's say 20 to 25 connections or something. If you post something, or if you probably put what you do out there, not enough people will definitely get to see it. Same thing too for Twitter and all that. So if you don't have so many people following you, or so many people that your stuff and everything are actually visible to, it will be very hard for people to actually see what you do. So how exactly do you project yourself, firstly, for people to know what you do? Then also, for someone who is probably in the healthcare sector and everything, how exactly can someone, should I say, position themselves to also be in tech as well? Then on the slide,
Wait, let me first answer before I forget all the questions.
okay.
So for the first one, I see some things already. Join communities, build connections. I definitely agree about communities. When I first got my first UX search role, I had no experience in UX search. I had zero UX search experience, but I had some of the qualifications that they were interested in, and I was already active in that community. So that is one way, like, be active in communities. Don't just, I see a lot of people join like online communities like Slack groups or Telegram groups or whatever, and they just come and just post their LinkedIn, like, oh, this is who I am, this is my LinkedIn, and then never post anything there again, or they only post things to ask for things. That's not how to engage. You have to engage in the community, answer people's questions. Even if you feel like you don't have all the answers, answer the parts that you know. share links, share resources with people when people ask for things, engage in community. And when you engage in community, people are seeing you and then they trust you more. They feel like they know you. There's this feeling that we get like we know people that we've never met. So you read a couple of their articles, then you start to like, oh, this person actually knows about this thing. But you don't even know them. You just think they know about it because you've read some articles that they wrote or something, or you watch some of their YouTube videos. That's basically how it works. And then the second thing is that look to publish in the widely read or widely accessed publications or whatever in your community. So for example, if you're a designer, a good place to publish would be UX Collective or Bootcamp. I think the other publication is called Bootcamp or Medium. So there are a lot of like these Medium publications that accept submissions from people. So you can publish on those places where it's easy to discover. And another thing I would say is that it's not about the numbers, because some of these talks that I like, for example, when I got the job at InterSwitch, they reached out to me and they said that they didn't even tell me how they found me. It was later after I had joined that I found out that somebody on the team at InterSwitch had attended a talk that I gave, and it was like maybe 20 people that were at that talk. So it's not about like reaching to 100 people, forget about the numbers, just keep putting stuff out there. And that way, somebody that like, it doesn't have to be 100 people that see it for you to make a connection or for an opportunity to come out of it. And it may not be immediately. I don't even remember what talk it was I gave that the person came to, but it was way before the opportunity at InterSwitch opened up. Even when I got the opportunity I got at Google, it was somebody that I did a workshop with for 20 people, and it was like 2 years prior that we did the workshop. So like, it doesn't matter if it's 5 people that see it, or if it's 20 people that see it, or if it's 100 people that see it. As long as you're putting stuff out there that people can see, it is something to start with. I read recently about somebody who had a YouTube channel that had maybe like only 30 views or something, and then somebody very important stumbled upon their YouTube channel and it became a very big thing. Feby, you know what I'm talking about. Please
yeah, it's the guy from he was always putting things on, I think, YouTube, and Oprah came across somebody shared his video and Oprah saw it. And
he didn't have lots of views. It was like maybe 20 views in a video.
Yes.
So it's not, don't fixate on like, oh, only 10 people saw my video, only 5 people read my newsletter. It doesn't matter. Just keep building yourself and putting yourself out there. The first few talks I gave, maybe 10 people were there. And then one time I had the opportunity to give a talk to over 100 people. So like, it's with just consistency. It's really about consistency. So that's the first question. Then the second one was, if you're in the healthcare space to get into tech. Thank you for actually asking that question, because one of the things I like to talk about, one of the easiest ways to transition into tech is to look for companies that are at the intersection of your area of expertise and tech. So there are so many health tech startups. If you have a healthcare background, very easy transition to make. If it's accounting software, you're an accountant, very easy transition to make, because you know the core of the business. The business is not just tech. The business is also the other technical side of it, which is the accounting or the HR or the medicine or the healthcare or whatever other like specialty it is, right? Or law. There's so many legal tech, whatever things that people are building. If you're a lawyer, you have legal background, that is an easy transition for you as well. So just look for, which one of the tips I gave is like research the industry, research the companies. What are the companies that are working in this space that you can reach out to? So you had a question, and I hope 2 responses helped with your first 2 questions.
Yes, it did. The last question, to be honest, I think I've actually forgotten, because well, probably if I remember, I'll probably just put it out.
No
I can't
problem.
remember the question again.
Thank you, Lade. Thank you so much. Does anyone still have any question? All right. This is very okay. Yeah. Just Nonso was dropping responses.
What tech roles are difficult? Oh yeah, I said it that like it's not necessarily something is difficult or not. Is something can be difficult for me, but easy for someone else, and something can be easy for someone else, difficult for someone else and easy for me. So people think that, oh, design is easy, but design is actually not easy. Like there's a level of expertise to be in the top 10, top 20%, top 1% of designers in the world that most people will never get to, because the commitment that is required to be great at designing interactions. I don't even do visual design. Like I'm like, I can't do this. It's too much work for me. I'm not interested. I don't like it. I will do the most basic things when it comes to visual design because I'm not interested in that. But there are people who are really, really great at it, and they build that by talent and learning. So there's no necessarily something is the most difficult thing to do. Something is not difficult to do. It's just based on what comes naturally to you. Everyone has their own natural abilities and talents. There are people who find data analysis to be very easy, and there are people who find it to be very difficult. So there's no difficult or easy thing. It's really about what comes naturally to you and what level of commitment are you willing to give to develop a new skill.
Super. And also drop like additional answers to that. But yeah, this has been really good. If no one has any other question again, I guess we'll just wrap up. Thank you, Lade. Thank you, Nonso. Thank you, Dorcas. Thank you very much for committing time to come, share your experiences and helping others get some clarity on how to forge ahead and how to evolve themselves in the career and how to, find their feet in the path that they've chosen and somehow get some clarity. Thank you so much. And to everyone, thank you for waiting on until this time. We're like, it's almost 2 hours since we've been here talking and all. I guess this has been good for all. If you have any other question, you can drop it in the chat group and I can, forward it to either Lade, or Dorcas, any question that you have, because after the call, obviously, so they are like our guests and they are not on the group. I was just going to close now with a closing prayer. Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you for the opportunity to gather. We thank you for the grace that you have granted unto us. Thank you for everyone that have spoken. Thank you for ministering through them. Thank you for everyone on the call that has listened in. We pray, oh Lord, that you guide them, you give them clarity of purpose, you grant them understanding, and you give them, all they need to make a headway and what they need to do and how to do right, the right decisions to make. As you have gone ahead of us, we pray, oh Lord, that we will not miss our steps in the name of Jesus. We pray, Lord, that when we hear from each other, it's going to be good news in the name of Jesus. Thank you for this opportunity. We return all glory, all honor, and adoration unto you. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your evening. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, thank you.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Thank you so much.